Hi there, this is Erica Merrill, and I'm the founder of Perfect Legal Video. And I'm very excited to talk to you family attorneys today because I know that sometimes you think, hey, it's hard to come up with stuff to talk about when you're marketing your business. And you probably take for granted all of the knowledge and all of the questions that you answer every single day. And so, what I'm going to talk about today are social media topics for interviews or even for blogs that you can use in your marketing in the area of family law. And, some of it might seem kind of obvious, and some of it, just the way that I'm putting it, just might remind you that these are topics that you can talk about and help your social media presence with some, great ways to educate the public. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. So, social media interview topics for family attorneys. There we go. We're going to talk about the 7 essential videos. And I talk about this a lot. If you've ever heard me talk about videos and what you should have for your business, this is what I say all the time. But I'm going to remind you, and in case some of you are just watching me for the first time. All right. Now, I think one of the two, I think, most essential videos is the Why Work With Us video. The reason I like this video is because you can reverse engineer the script, and it's going to overcome objections. It's going to have a call to action. So there's 4 major parts of this. The first part is going to be just telling them a little bit about yourself and why you got into this particular type of law. Maybe you even have a personal experience with it. It might not have been you, it might have been a family member, whatever it is. This type of law really interests you, and you really have to love family law because a lot of it is about being a referee and handling people at their worst possible moments. So I really have a lot of love for family attorneys because they deal with a lot on a day-to-day basis, and they keep even keeled about it. I think that's fantastic. The second part is that you are going to want to overcome objections, and the objections are objections to hiring you and hurdles that people have when they're thinking of using you as their attorney. So it's best if you can have your clients say that. So if you have any video testimonials, you can add that. If you don't, just make a list of the objections that you hear every day when you're signing people up, new clients up, and you can overcome them yourselves. I mean, one might be cost. Another one might be that they think that they don't need an attorney and that they can handle the case themselves. Another might be that, they're concerned about what's going to happen to them if they do leave their spouse. Maybe one spouse has control of the money. Maybe someone's not a very nice person and they're worried about repercussions. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and you guys all know what I'm talking about because you talk to these people every day and you help them out. You help them change their lives. The third thing is going to be just telling them how you stand out from the competition. And it's a little bit of a sneaky way to have people check up on their competition and point out your strengths over your competition's weaknesses. And I think it's fantastic. And the last part is going to be that call to action. So if you're giving away a free book, if you want them to pick up the phone and call you, whatever it is you want them to do, you have to say it, or else they're just not going to do it, and you're just giving away free information. The second kind of video that you should definitely make are at least your top 10, I would say, frequently asked questions. Now, it's possible that you can't think of them right now as I'm talking to you, and we're going to have plenty of samples of FAQs and topics that people have on their minds. And you have a lot going on, and it's in there. The information is in here, but you might not just have it in a list of orderly questions, let's say. All right. Now, another one that I really like is how to hire a family attorney. Now, this is kind of a sneaky one too, because when you're talking about how to hire a family attorney, you're going to talk about the questions that you want them to ask the other attorneys. And like one of them, for example, that is great to use is, is your attorney, is your attorney like just specializing in family law, or is it like a one-man band that's trying to like get any business they possibly can? So they're doing criminal, they're doing closings, they're doing all different types, PI, and they've got everything, and there's just one guy in the office. I mean, that is somebody that is not going to be able to have time to keep up in all of the changes that are happening in the law, and they're not going to be as specialized in your type of case. So they may not have enough examples from going to court every single day talking about, what you do. And so, I mean, that's one. Another one, and I've seen this happen. This happened to somebody I know. They got the best in the business, somebody that helped write the case law and everything else. And the person was so big and important that she could never get through to him, and he just ignored her question for weeks. And I know we all know that that's one of the biggest complaints for attorneys, that just don't get back to their clients. And that's why all of you answer your phone all the time and communicate with your clients and have processes set up to do that. But not every attorney does. I mean, so those are just a couple of examples. I'm not going to go through all of those examples, but you can see where that would be really great for you if you know you're good at those things, to bring it up. And who are they going to hire but the person that knows the questions to ask when hiring that type of attorney. Family law myths. So everyone knows someone who has been divorced or had even just custody issues with someone. They may not even have been married. There's a lot of different situations within family law, and there's a lot of myths. If you listen to what happened to somebody else, or maybe they even got it from TV, it's crazy what happens when people just let their imagination go wild, and they just listen to what happened to their neighbor, and that's what they think is going to happen to them. And that's not always true. I mean, maybe the person got divorced 10 years before, and the laws that were governing them aren't current. And so the same things won't happen. Maybe something just recently changed that, someone who's not an attorney, don't take advice from someone who's not an attorney. I mean, that's really the last line there. But, really having those gotchas for them, that's the best way to do it. And, going over those myths, that just puts you in a positive light. Process videos. Well, I've got a slide on process videos. So I'm just going to say, like, anytime you want to explain something about the process of going through, whatever their case is, and you find yourself repeating yourself over and over again, it's always good to have a video on that topic so that they can hear what you're saying, but then they can go back and review it later when they're not so stressed out and overwhelmed. Landing page videos. You're not going to be able to capture any leads if you don't have landing pages, and that's landing page videos. If you're giving away a free book in exchange for their contact information, that's where you would just get on and say, hey, thanks so much for getting this book. You made a great decision. You're going to get this 10,000 foot overview of this situation. And then, on the next page, you're going to say, but by the way, everyone's situation is unique and different. Pick up the phone and give us a call. And then the last thing that you might want to consider are staff introductions. It's actually not the last thing. I forgot to add testimonials on here, but staff introductions are nice. A lot of people have a page where they say meet us, and they've got a page for every attorney. You can have, instead of just a picture there, you can have a video of them talking about why they got into law, or why they love what they do, and why they love their clients, and all of that. And so it's just a nice way for people to meet who they're going to be working with on a regular basis. All right, let's see. Next one, process videos. All right, these are some of the process videos that we commonly use. We can't wait to meet you. This one and the thank you for hiring us, it's meant to help make your clients more sticky. Now, if someone has an appointment with you, Raise your hand if you've ever been canceled on or someone has no showed an appointment. Well, guess what? It's less likely to happen if you send them an email ahead of time, a video email saying, hey, this is who I am. We're looking forward to meeting you. We're going to meet for about an hour. We're going to go over these 3 things. That is really great. That's going to help them feel more comfortable. If there's anything special that they need to know about getting to your office, that's always good too. And you can even, you want to make it as generic as possible as far as your staff goes, because if you're making these videos, you don't want to have to go keep making them if Kara left and now Linda's there, or whatever. Thank you for hiring us. It's a great time to just give them, what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Are they going to get a packet of information that they need to fill out? Are there certain meetings that they're going to need to have? There's all of that stuff is super important. And here's something kind of funny, because you don't think of this, but until you're in court and somebody is not acting appropriately. And so I was in a family court once, and this woman in front of us was just, she did not have an attorney, and her ex, and I don't believe they were married, but her ex had an attorney who was doing all the speaking for him. But she was being very inappropriate, let's say. And she had just gotten out of drug rehab and, was really wanting more time with her child, but she was like wagging her finger at the judge. And she, wasn't dressed very appropriately. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but, and it's like things like if you're going to court and you're trying to be humble for the judge, don't go in your most expensive jewelry and your big fur coat. If you're trying to be humble and say that you don't have enough money to pay the bills and you need a little bit more from your spouse, whatever it is. And I say big fur coat, your nicest tux. Like, I don't want to say that it's female versus male, because, sometimes the females are the ones that are the breadwinners and they pay their ex-husband's alimony and that sort of thing. So let's see, what else? What should I expect to happen during the divorce process? Divorce is a scary thing. And this could even be an adoption process. There's just a lot of, any process that you haven't been through, which requires an attorney, is oftentimes a very scary process to go through. And the way you take away that fear is by educating people. How about this? Congratulations, you're divorced. Now what? It's a good time to give people a little extra help. Maybe they would, maybe you've got some videos that teach them how to budget better if they haven't been the one that was paying all the bills before, which is so often true. Maybe there are tips that you can give them about, where to go to, get help handling any emotional distress due to a divorce. There's just so many different things. How can you, I know they make people take parenting classes, but there's, you can expand a lot more on that. What are some, great ways to get to know your child? And there's sometimes there's a parent that's a workaholic, and all of a sudden they've got the kid 50% of the time, and it's like getting to know the kid all over again, and in the middle of an emotionally distressing situation. So maybe there's some help you can give them there. I mean, those types of videos would be nice. And then, you could also talk about what paperwork do I need to provide during a family court case, talking about financial statements, talking about, the expenses and how to come up with the expenses and not to forget anything, maybe having a checklist and you can go through and, people can say, oh yeah, you know what? I forgot about the cable bill. Thank God they had it there, because I wouldn't have considered that. And all the little things do add up. So if you have a list, I mean, that's really great. Okay, let's move on to the next part here. Family court topics. All right. So there's a lot of different topics when it comes to family court, and child support is, one of the big topics. People want to know how child support is calculated. People, there is a calculator for it, and sometimes if the other spouse makes a lot more money, maybe more than 250,000 at the time of this taping in Massachusetts, for example, then there's a discretionary amount past that if they make more than that. They want to know what happens if someone's not paying child support. What if you're paying child support and your income goes down? Can you get it adjusted? I mean, you can see the questions that I have here, but really, I mean, people fight. This is one of the highly contested parts of a divorce sometimes, and it's one of the most expensive to fight. So if you've got anything to do with the children, you could be adding tens of thousands or sometimes even over $100,000 to your court case and your attorney's fees. So it's very important to understand what people want to know about this particular topic. All right, custody and parenting time. I mean, this is kind of like part 2 of what we just talked about, but modifying custody. There are other things like, what if the child is being abused and CPS shows up at your door? How do you present a case, and how do you get the best results out of that? How to get fair hearings, how to become a foster parent to a relative's child. And unfortunately that happens. Either people get very sick and they can't take care of their children. Sometimes they end up in jail, sometimes they die. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen where some other family member may need to step in and take control of the reins there and help the child out by fostering them or maybe adopting them. Let's see here. Grandparents' rights. One of the attorneys I worked with, Attorney Joseph Niven, he came up with this topic, and I hadn't thought of it, but really, they have no rights, but sometimes they cause trouble. They want to see their children more, their grandchildren, of course, and I'm all for that. But really, the best advice you can give a grandparent is to just get along with the ex-spouse and be nice to them and don't cause fights, because really every parent gets their parenting time, and if that's not their parents, they don't have to go spend time with them if they don't want to. So it's an interesting topic, and I'm sure that it comes up a lot. Let's see here. Oh, I hate this one. Parental alienation. Really, where I think it happens all the time. I don't think it's always reported. But you're not supposed to do it, and you can get in trouble with the courts for doing it. So making sure that your clients know what parental alienation is, because they're probably hating their ex-spouse more than ever and blaming each other and really wanting to get the kids on their side. So they speak poorly about the ex-spouse, and it's just not good for the kids. And then there's questions like, if I don't like my ex's new partner, and you probably aren't gonna like them, because depending on what kind of relationship you had with your ex, now all of a sudden your kid is spending time with this new person, and you're jealous, or maybe they're not treating your child properly, which is a case that could happen as well. So I mean, educating your clients on this stuff is very important. Going over alimony, it's very much the same types of questions as child support. I mean, you're worried about, do you know the real numbers? Do you know what your spouse was really making? Is there anything happening under the table? Let's see. And then, what if the spouse that wasn't making a lot of money really could have made more money? Maybe they used to make X amount, and now they're working part-time and taking care of the kids most of the time. I mean, does that come into play when they are factoring in what alimony is? How long does alimony last? I mean, there's a calculation for that too. And so keep all of that in mind. Assets and liabilities. So So assets and liabilities, things like how to figure out your daily expenses. That would really be with the expense worksheet, and uh, talking about what is an asset that's going to be considered. Now, if you have a really good attorney, your attorney will get all assets considered, because sometimes people want to try to leave things out, and unless they're in a trust or something like that that really protects them, or a prenup, you should be splitting everything down the middle. So if there's a family business that you worked in, but you didn't get a paycheck, or even if you did, it might be that you get a piece of that. 401ks, you should get half of that. I mean, it just really depends on what comes out in the end. You're going to put all of the assets and liabilities together, and then however you come out ahead, you want to split that in half. People have questions about whether, if I have a business that I've worked in, maybe even before I knew my spouse, do they get a piece of that? If the house is in my spouse's name, do I still have it considered as mine? I mean, again, it depends on the protections on that. What assets are divided in a divorce? And do I have to pay for my spouse's credit card debt in a divorce? I mean, any kind of debt. I just threw that in there. But really talk about what everyone needs to pay for and what everybody can take from the divorce in the end. And every situation is different, of course. Strategies for fairly settling your divorce case. All right, so basically, there's a lot of great topics. One of them is, just going over what are the issues in a divorce. What are the common myths in a divorce? I believe we talked about that a little bit earlier too. That's one of the top 7 essential videos. What are temporary orders? That's super important. And is the strategy that you go in for the temporary orders right away, or do you wait because you want to try to be cordial and nice? My advice is go get the temporary orders. What happens with appeals from family court orders? How are divorces being handled during COVID-19? How does mediation work? I mean, some people can settle their divorce through mediation, and you still have to go to court, but those are the couples that can talk sometimes, and those are uncontentious. If they are contentious divorces, then you are going to court. Let's see here, and you're going to be tied up for a long time. It'll be a lot more expensive. Things like, do you need an attorney with mediation? Do you need an attorney at all to even get divorced? And I would always say, do that video, because you can talk about how the answer is yes. You shouldn't do anything this important without professional help. You've all seen the horror stories of when people don't use an attorney. So how do mutual suspicions interfere in family law cases? I mean, that is, a really complicated situation. If people don't trust each other, then the process is not going to be smooth. What are some strategies for family offense cases? And then how can I save attorney fees? And there's a lot of ways to save attorney fees. And so, you want to be able to list those out and help people. It's not like you're trying to gouge them and charge them tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. You want to make this easy on them, and you want to let them know that up front. Panel discussions and referral generators. So if you have this great platform, and like one part of what we do is we give our attorneys a platform to have interviews every single week, and we get videos out all over social media. Well, so we can do this for people, have panel discussions. And so, what happens is, we have these discussions, and how you can network with people that are going to give you referrals. So other attorneys. So if you're a divorce attorney, maybe you are talking to an immigration attorney, or a business attorney or a bankruptcy attorney. All of those things fit, and you can pass each other referrals back and forth. Well, how grateful are they going to be and happy that you include them on one of your interviews? So here are a few that you could do. I mean, divorce and bankruptcy, unfortunately, sometimes go hand in hand, and it does make the process a little more complicated. They'll put a divorce on hold until the bankruptcy is settled, and sometimes it's easier to settle things before you finish the divorce, because you save some fees and you know you're filing together. Sometimes it's not possible if the people don't get along. I mean, so these are some of the questions that you would want to answer, and some of the complicated questions. And let's see here. And then divorce and business, you know, you could see a few of the questions that I spoke about earlier had to do with divorce and business, you know, and talking about how businesses are split up or not split up, how you can protect your business through a divorce. And so that's all very important. And then there's also the last like cool idea I had that I did this year was, you know, I worked with a few divorce attorneys and we did dating advice from a divorce attorneys. And so had 2 or 3 divorce attorneys on there. And, you know, it was very, very interesting because they see the aftermath of a relationship and they can tell you what possibly to do to make things go better the next time. So the best things to talk about when it comes to your staff getting on, you can have a panel and have them talk about how they work with the clients, you know, why they love working with your company, and, you know, really gain some points with prospects and clients by, you know, showing them your staff ahead of time and make them more comfortable when they come in. Inviting your clients, I mean, this is a really great thing. Now, client testimonials are awesome, but imagine if you could actually interview them on the process, and, you know, maybe your book was the first thing that helped them, and then, you know, maybe they felt you know, just uneducated about what was going to happen to them, no strategy, scared, sleepless nights, miserable, in a miserable relationship for a long time, and you were able to sit down, talk to them about the aspects of their case that worry them the most, and give them a plan. And so, I mean, just helping people know what's coming next is often, you know, one of the biggest things that you can do for them and what they appreciate most. So you know, that's a really great thing. If you can get a client to come on and talk to you about the, you know, of the process, that's perfect. I think that this is it for today. Yeah. So here, I hope that you've enjoyed, you know, learning about some of the topics that you can use in your social media interviews or your blogs. I mean, all of these are fantastic. You can put some of these topics together and, you know, make a little video series, make a book, you know, whatever it is you want to do. But these are really great topics. Hopefully it's gotten your creative juices flowing and you'll be able to really step up your marketing by answering the questions that people really have the most about what you do. And so if you do want help, obviously you should pick up the phone and give a Perfect Legal Video a call, and we can help you with social media management. We can help you with making all of these types of videos. We've worked with many, many family attorneys, and you know, we really love it. So, all right, thanks again for watching, and I will talk to you all soon.